Welcome to the 34th episode of the mini video series, Fridays with Father. Today is December 25th, and what a perfect time of the year to talk about, no, not Christmas, calendars. Let's not talk about the American Christmas or the Serbian Christmas as if they were different holidays, but rather, let's find out what this 13-day discrepancy is all about. Whenever we talk about feast days, you've probably noticed that we reference two calendars, the Julian and the Gregorian, or the Old and the New. But did you know that there is a third one? The only true Serbian calendar, entirely made in Serbia by a Serbian scientist. This calendar is also in use today, and it is called the Revised Julian Calendar. To learn more about calendars in the Orthodox Church, please join me in this episode of Fridays with Father. Actually, join me in the next two episodes, since it is impossible to address this vast topic in just one short episode. When we talk about calendars, we cannot approach this subject only from a historical perspective, since a general knowledge of astronomy, physics, and math plays a major role in understanding the subject. In the first verses of the book of Genesis, we read that God created the heavens and the earth, and He divided light from darkness. God called the light day and darkness night. This phenomena is one of the first things people started to notice and to differentiate. Many ancient civilizations developed very sophisticated systems for measuring time on the basis of day and night, later called calendars. Different lengths of day and night led to a conclusion that this had something to do with celestial bodies, so people started to read different movements of heavens. The three main units for all calendars are day, month, and year. A day is the period of time necessary for Earth to revolve once on its axis. It is approximately 24 hours long. Actually, it is 24 hours, 3 minutes, and 56.5 seconds. And these 3 minutes and 56.5 seconds really make things very complicated. A month is the time that the moon takes to complete one full cycle around Earth. It takes approximately 27 days for this to happen, or 27 days, 7 hours, 43 minutes, and 5 seconds exactly. A year is the time necessary for the Earth to revolve once around the Sun, and it takes approximately 365 days for this to happen, or, to be exact, 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 46 seconds. These are all approximate calculations, and believe it or not, they are subject to change depending on the point of reference, climate changes, atmospheric winds, earthquakes, etc. I find it very interesting that the 2011 earthquake in Japan shortened a day by 1.8 microseconds. Some of you may think that we are splitting hairs here, but hairs are too thick when it comes to the reckoning of time. Hold on to your Google calendars. Let's continue. The first calendar known in history that used a year comprised of 365 days was the Egyptian civil calendar, which was in use 4,200 years before Christ. Originally, the Egyptians used a calendar based on phases of moon, or the lunar calendar, comprised of 12 months. However, this calendar did not entirely align with the seasons. Therefore, over time, certain difficulties arose. They had 3 seasons of 4 months and 30 days in each year, making it 360 days long. If they marked the beginning of a year by flooding of the river Nile, at the end of their 12-month year, they had to wait another 5 days for the Nile to flood their fields again, since their calendar got out of sync with the astronomical year. When the Egyptians noticed that their calendar was 5 days short, They added 5 days and brought it up to date with the season. This worked out for a while, but then again, their calendar was falling behind. We noted above that a day is not exactly 24 hours long, and that a year is a bit longer than 365 days, so these numbers eventually added up. Every year, 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 46 seconds made up for a quarter of a day, and in 4 years, it was a whole day. So the Egyptians were the first to introduce the leap year system, which is adding 1 day every 4 years to keep their calendar in line with their seasons. They came up with this system over 6,000 years ago. The next civilization that contributed to the calendar as we know it today was the Babylonian civilization. As opposed to the Egyptians, who used a lunar calendar, the Babylonians used a solar calendar, and they were the first to introduce a 7-day week. So the next time you say Happy Monday, thank the Babylonians. The ancient Greek civilization was not really concerned with a precise reckoning of time. Each city or polis in ancient Greece had its own system. However, in the year 432 BC, the Greek astronomer Meton introduced a 19-year solar cycle which corresponded to 235 lunar months. After this period of time passes, he said, the phases of the moon occur on the same day of the solar year and all of the celestial bodies line up again to their original position. With the help of modern technology and astronomical observations, this was confirmed, and Meton's calculations were only 2 hours off compared to today's calculation. Mind you, he came up with his calculation 2,500 years ago. Fascinating, isn't it? Another peculiarity of the Greek reckoning of time is their 4-year period from one Olympic game to the next, which is still in use today. Then finally, we come to the civilization that created the calendar as we know it today, and that is the ancient Roman civilization. It would take us a whole season or a few series to address how complex and unreliable Roman calculations of time were before Julius Caesar put an end to it all. Before he became an emperor, he was a Pontifex Maximus, something like a prime minister. And as a very well-educated man, he wanted to solve, among other things, the issue of the calendar, since the Roman civil calendar over time got extremely out of seasons. Julius Caesar traveled to Alexandria, and remember, Alexandria was the capital for astronomy of that time, and he met a genius astronomer and mathematician, Sosigenes, whom he invited to Rome to help with the reformation of the calendar. Even though Julius Caesar was in office for only 2 years, the work he accomplished was enormous. The first year of his reign, or as we know it today, the 45 BC, he introduced the new calendar, which became a standard for the reckoning of time for the entire empire, and it remained so for a long time. In his honor, the month of Quintilis was renamed into July. Another very interesting fact for us today is that Romans did not count years as we do today. Their years were identified by a ruler who held office that year. Hence we hear of the 5th year of Augustus or the 15th year of Tiberius. As soon as a new ruler would come to power, years would reset and they would be counted from the beginning. They again had the first year of so-and-so. This calendar was good, but it wasn't perfect. Since the leap year system was introduced, every 4 years, 1 day had to be added to the month of February to bring the calendar in line with the seasons. However, people who were in charge of adding this 1 day did not understand instructions left by Sosigenes. They counted years inclusively and ended up with way too many leap years. So in 36 years, they calculated 12 instead of 9 leap years. This was corrected by the Emperor Augustus, and from the year 8 BC to the year 8 AD, no leap years were added to the calendar. The final change that was made in Julian calendar was introduced by the Emperor Constantine in the 4th century. It was Constantine the Great who adopted the Babylonian or Jewish or Christian practice of a 7 days week. This was the last reform until the 16th century and Pope Gregory, who introduced the new Gregorian calendar. To find out more what had changed in the 16th century and then again in the 20th century with the calendar, join me in the next episode of Fridays with Father. In the meantime, please do not forget to wish a very Merry Christmas to all of your friends who follow either the Gregorian or the revised Julian calendar. Christ is born. Glorify Him. Thanks for watching, and God bless you.